Crockett back at the Ethan Allen plant in North Carolina sees things too.
It's just a bunch of different things that you have to look for. It's kind of almost a very tedious job at times.
But here's the kicker. The Pratt sofa that Randy Smith is working on here, that's headed to China, Chongqing to be precise. China's growing middle class has got plenty of money, and they appreciate good American workmanship.
I think it's wonderful. As long as we manufacture the furniture here, we can sell it to anybody we want. That's fine. I have no problem with it.
The balance of trade, though, between China and the United States remains totally out of whack. Americans buy vastly more from China than the other way around. Mu Wenjing's boss, the man who manages this plant assembling tens of thousands of DVD players and boomboxes, was born in Taiwan and worked for 15 years in Orange County, California. Matt Shaw's biggest outlet is Walmart. Why would Walmart come all the way to China to buy these things here?
Because what I can tell you right now is today, this type of DVD player we provided to Walmart, we have the lowest cost in the world.
The lowest cost?
Yes. I think that's the whole purpose.
So the lowest costs means you're paying the lowest salaries in the world.
It means we have lowest salaries. It means we have a higher efficiencies.
And few American firms understand those efficiencies quite as well as Apple. The company boosts its bottom line with the huge savings that come with the label assembled in China. But it's the company's design prowess and marketing savvy that motivates their consumers. That's why, for example, every iPod box carries the words "Designed by Apple in California." When you buy an iPod for $299, Apple makes a profit of $80. The Taiwanese company that assembles the parts in mainland China earns about $4. The same dynamic that works for Apple also works for Walmart, but on a much larger scale and at much lower prices. In fact, it's the Walmart credo: buy cheap, sell cheap. And it's precisely what attracts these Mexican migrants who work on the Vick family farm in North Carolina.
Every Saturday afternoon and Sunday, they go to Walmart and spend it, whether they're buying their groceries, their clothes, or their toys for their kids.
Walmart's slogan, "Everyday low prices," could almost serve as an anthem for the global economy. These Mexican migrant workers are one strand of a complex fabric that makes Walmart possible. On this trip, they're stocking up in preparation for their return home to Mexico. And if they take one of these boomboxes home as a gift, it's a good deal, only $19.98. Remember that sassy 17-year-old with a baseball cap and an attitude? But she's certainly not making a whole lot of money. And neither, for that matter, is her boss. He understands that Walmart has some major expenses to absorb.
They have to pay the shipping from Shanghai to LA. They have to pay their stores. They have to pay their employee, all of their overheads, of course.
But if I said to you, at the end of the day, who makes more money on each of these DVDs, you or Walmart?
Of course, Walmart.
Moving manufacturing to China also benefits Briggs & Stratton. The company's doing just fine with its plant in Chongqing. Of course, that's no comfort to Pam Leeser, whose job was outsourced to China.
We're going to wind up having no jobs. There's not going to be nothing here in the United States. It's all going to be overseas.
Okay, thanks. Nice to meet you.
I'm just hoping that the government wakes up and starts seeing what it's doing to United States citizens.
Of course, even Pam Leeser shops at Walmart.
We shopped at Walmart today in Rolla, my husband and I did. We could save money by shopping at Walmart instead of getting the items here in this little town.
So, in other words, the Walmart's cheaper?
Yes.
The reason that everything's so cheap at Walmart is because things are made in China.
So, in a way, you benefit from it?
Yes.
So, how do you feel about that?
If Pam Leeser doesn't have an answer for globalization's adverse effect on American workers, well, no one else does either. At age 50, she is out of work and looking for a job. You can hardly expect her to be happy about the bargains at Walmart when those are largely the product of cheap foreign labor, especially from China. After all, that's how she came to lose her job in the first place. Although it's still morning and he has a field of lotus roots to harvest, Li Xingfu is slightly drunk.
I'm so tired of him. He's such a pain. He loves drinking.
That's Mr. Li's wife, Jingong Lu.
We don't have a good relationship. We're staying together because of our daughter.
If the daughter looks slightly familiar to you, you're right. You saw Li down at school, in English class. Every weekend, she comes home to her parents' village. At the beginning of every week, she boards a commuter bus to another village, where she takes a tiny three-wheel taxi, which bumps its way through farmland to another bus stop. There, she catches a Chongqing municipal bus, which drops her at a stop near her boarding school. A school which her father and his family think is a waste of money.
According to their view, she should have stopped receiving an education a long time ago. They think it is useless for a girl to be schooled. The son should be educated. I feel it is really unfair.
Everything that attracts foreign investment to China rests on the foundation of cheap labor, and Jingong Lu, staggering under the weight of these lotus roots, may be a perfect transitional figure. 6 and sometimes 7 mornings a week during harvest season, she carries 120 pounds of produce, which is roughly what she weighs, to market. She's happy if the day's work yields $3. After all expenses are paid, renting the land, buying the seed, the daily bus fare to town, the family nets $570 a year. Half of that goes toward Li Dan's expenses at boarding school. "15-year-old Kellen Zhang lives a far more privileged life in Potomac, Maryland, but she too has to cope with family separation. Her father is often gone for long stretches. Dr. He Jiang has moved back to China after living in Canada and then in the United States for 20 years. For 8 years, he worked as an AIDS researcher at the National Institutes of Health. 4 years ago, Dr. Jiang decided to establish his own lab. He's still trying to find a more effective treatment for AIDS, but now he's set up shop in Chongqing. Early every morning, he's on a conference call with his family.
Hi, honey.
In Maryland, it's late afternoon,
So how are you guys doing?
Well, they said that they won.
and his son and daughter are just back from high school.
Name on the stats sheet.
Dr. Jiang's AIDS treatment has now entered the human trial stage in China. Between supervising those and spending time with his family in Potomac, he spends a lot of his life in airports and making that long commute. In Chongqing, he pays 1/5 what he did in Maryland for 10 times as much space. It's cheap labor, cheap facilities, cooperation from the government, and a huge base of people who have every disease known to man.
Yes. In fact, the major pharmaceutical companies are now in China building up their R&D center.
Is this good for America or bad for America?
I think overall, in the long run, is good for everybody. Because of lower cost, eventually is going to lower the medical care, the drug price is going to go down.
And even with the pressure to keep prices on exports down, salaries for Chinese workers are going up. And management? Well, management is doing very nicely by anyone's standards. Seen here driving a luxury car through their gated community in Chongqing and into the driveway of their elegant new home, homemaker Zhang Xiaojing, her husband Ding Ming, and their 2-year-old daughter Ding Sihan. Mr. Ding is an executive at a thriving company that makes electrical components for motorcycle firms like Kawasaki and Suzuki. But Mrs. Zhang is rightly proud of her role in designing and decorating their new house. From a pretty in pink room for her daughter to the spacious family bathroom. Note the toddler's mini toilet. To the high-quality kitchen fixtures and top-of-the-line American appliances, it's a house fit for one of China's new captains of industry. Today is delivery day for some long-awaited new furniture, featuring both a red carpet and white glove delivery service, literally. As for the couch being so meticulously unwrapped, so gently, dare we say, lovingly moved and placed, that's the very couch that was assembled and upholstered in North Carolina, where it was placed on the legs and base shipped from China. And now, here it is, Ethan Allen's Pratt sofa, complete and in place at its final home in Chongqing, with Mrs. Zhang and Mr. Ding, who know a nice piece of American craftsmanship when they see it.
American products always look good, and the quality is always good too. And you know, my first car was a Buick, which drove very well. And our new American refrigerator has big double doors, and it's really well built. We're told you can even kick it.
Yes, my father told me we can pass this refrigerator down to our grandchildren.
Right. Both the fridge and the couch could be passed down through several generations. And they match the style of our house. That's why we chose them.
Socialism's dream of a classless society got lost somewhere between Mrs. Zhang's McMansion and Jingonglu's tiny farmhouse. But China is becoming a place where even gaps like that can be bridged.
Life is hard. What can we do? I'm planning to go out and look for a job in January or February.
Does your husband know that yet?
No, he doesn't know.
What do you think will be better about life in the city?
All I know is that I want to work for myself. I don't know how bright the future will be. As long as I can make enough to support myself, I'll be fine. I really don't get on with him. I'm so annoyed by him. If it hadn't been for my daughter, I would have left him a long time ago.
Jingonglu's chances of getting rich in her village of Dragon Spring or in the city were always slim and none. But China's experiment with capitalism offers a genuine window of hope to Li Dan, her daughter, the one with the education.
Go to see the field.
Chen Jiming is what is known in Chongqing as a bang bang man. In another time and place, he and his crew might have been called coolies. When the riverboats churn their way up and down the Yangtze, carrying foreign tourists to and from the scenic Three Gorges, Mr. Chun and the others carry their baggage up and down the embankment here in Chongqing. They don't know much about Americans, but what they know, they like.
Americans are great. Because their economy is more developed, they are more generous than the Germans and the French.
The Americans have lots of money?
Americans give good tips. They are very generous.
Tell me what you know about America.
As far as I know, America is the most advanced and also the richest country in the world.
It may have occurred to Mr. Chun that Americans and Chinese, who have been enemies, may one day be bitter rivals again.
And what about China? You think the day will come when China and America have to fight?
That isn't possible. The relationship between America and China is pretty good right now. That won't happen.
Whether out of courtesy or intuition, Mr. Chun understands mutual interests when he sees them. As does American investment banker Simon Erblick.
America has to figure out what it wants to do here. China's growing fast, and they're opening up their doors. So either China in the long run is going to be a competitor of America's or a partner.
Both?
Or both, because being a partner with China, at the end of the day, is going to be good for everybody. Both financially speaking, politically speaking, from a humanitarian standpoint, that is a win-win situation for everybody. And you're not going to be able to avoid the efficiencies of market, the cheaper labor that's going to be available all over the world, and you can't keep running away from that.
Take silk making, for example, an ancient Chinese industry. These silkworm cocoons, nurtured on thousands of acres of Chinese mulberry bushes, are about to be relieved of their silken thread. They enjoy, thanks to Simon Erblick, a small, humble place on Wall Street. Another thread, if you'll pardon the pun, in the fabric of Sino-American relations.
So, what do you know about silk factories?
To be honest, not much.
But then it's not their expertise on silk production that makes Simon Erblick and his partner Dan Hirsch interesting to the Chinese. Simon and Dan find companies that can be listed on American stock exchanges. Let's say an antiquated silk factory that needs money to buy new technology. Chinese entrepreneur takes American investment, updates factory. Chinese government provides incentives, silk factory blossoms. In theory, everybody gets rich.
They were valued very low, $1 million, $2 million here in China.
So that's what you see as
an opportunity.
Shooting fish in a barrel.
Exactly.
Win-win?
Win-win.
For whom?
Everybody.
Just as one day, when millions of Chinese peasants have been drawn into the cities, the remaining farmers will start using engines, perhaps even Briggs & Stratton engines, to work larger plots of land.
When you have less farmers trying to do the same amount of work without the actual people, you know, they're going to have to start buying automated products to help them.
If I said to you, Jim, is there any way of untangling the Chinese-American relationship? Are we and the Chinese, for good or ill?
Oh, and yeah, I think it's meshed. It's got to be meshed forever. I mean, if you look at the amount of companies in the United States that rely on Chinese-made products or Chinese-made materials, you know, if you try to pull that apart, you would have so many companies with complete loss of supply of what they do. So I think it's something that will only get more involved with China as time goes on.
The family-owned Bernhardt Furniture Company in Lenoir, North Carolina, moved some of its operations to China more than 25 years ago. That too, says CEO Alex Bernhardt, has been a win-win proposition.
The work ethic comes to mind immediately. The people are diligent, work eagerly. They're eager to learn. We've been able to instill in them some of the quality aspirations and standards that Bernhardt has. So it's clearly today it's the country of choice for us.
Bernhardt explains to his American workers that outsourcing to China allowed him to keep plants open in the United States, while keeping his overall prices competitive. It's what he calls that Walmart think?
I shop at Walmart. I expect they do. I expect we're all using televisions and shoes and belts and cameras and clothing that is made somewhere else in the world. And they understand that the consumers today want great design, great quality, and a great price. And whether it's sad or just reality, the country of origin is not of great importance to consumers in America.
Bargains for the American consumer? Quality exports for the growing Chinese middle class. Remember Ms. Zhang, the woman who bought the Ethan Allen couch? She drives a BMW from Germany, wears a Burberry shawl from England, and carries a Louis Vuitton handbag from France. She's paying her weekly visit to Walmart, which in Chongqing at least is one of the upscale places to shop. There are delicacies to be found here. Chicken feet, far superior to the local variety, imported from North Carolina. If you're trying to get a handle on the Sino-American relationship, Walmart's not a bad place to start. In America, where consumers are looking for cheap foreign imports, and now in China, where the Walmart name conveys a totally different image of quality and high-priced foreign imports. It's more than a toehold. Capitalism, of all things, has established a solid foothold in China. How about that?